So good evening everyone. So today we are all back to discuss the mains oriented current affairs. That is the session 3 that we will all take with respective to the 13 months current affairs that we have promised you to give you extremely and absolutely free. Okay. So therefore here we are trying to imbibe more and more number of current affairs so that it could be very much helpful for you in your upcoming means, and we will try to cover each and every topic that has been in news for the past 1 year. So we'll be focused much more towards the important news, the cutouts made by the governments, as well as some of the important schemes that has been pronounced by the government in the upcoming times also, that we'll also discuss, and also we'll see about the situations through which we need to have a discussion on the current affairs sessions. So therefore we'll start today with the first topic saying excuse me. So we'll discuss with the first topic. Here you can see that farmer friendly Modi government. So here we'll discuss that Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's government has decided to provide subsidy of rupees 60,939 crores for Kharif season 2022, that is for 6 months, for phosphatic and potassic fertilizers. Okay, and here they are ensuring fertilizers at affordable rates to farmers despite huge global surge in fertilizer prices. So that is one of the important criteria what we have to see over here in this respective context. Okay, so now if I have to say about something associated with the cropping seasons of India, now I can directly say that in this cropping seasons, just a second. Okay. So if I see about the cropping seasons, I can say about we have the 3 types of seasons, basically the Rabi season, the Kharif season, as well as the Zaid season. Now, if I suppose yourselves to be going with the Rabi crops, I can see that if I have to say about the cereals of Rabi, I can say it is to be the barley, the gram, the rapeseeds, then the mustard, then the oats, and the bajra. Now, these are some of the things associated with the cereals of Rabi crops. Now, if I say about the fruits of Rabi crops, I can say it to be banana, it to be the ladyfingers, it to be tomato, it to be grapefruits, it to be mangoes, and lemons. So these are Rabi seasons. And hetu karone sage ami jano je these fruits are basically associated during the period which is we can see the winter period. Okay, so now if I say about vegetables of the Rabi season, I can say it to be cabbage, I can it to be the capsicum, onion, potato, spinach, tomato, etc. are to be the part of the vegetables of the Rabi season. Now if I go towards the major Kharif crops, okay, you can also see here. Okay, so we have written the Kharif, that is the monsoonal crops. So all these crops are mentioned. So if I again distinguish it with respect to the cereals, I can see the jowar, I can see the maize, I can see the millets, I can see the rice, I can see the soybean. Ebilak hoi gol ki cereals ot pori jay. Jodi fruits ot ko muskmelon, sugarcane, watermelon, orange ebilak kot pori jay, fruits ot pori jay. Aru jodi moi ko vegetables ot tetia kibilak pori jay, bitter gourd hoi gol, butter gourd hoi gol, then brinjal hoi gol, French bean hoi gol, tinda hoi gol, turmeric hoi gol, ebilak ki hora hi gol, vegetables hora hi gol. So therefore it is very important that you should know about the type of crops that is produced in this particular seasons. So now if I have to say about the Zaid crops, so this is basically an intermediary between Rabi and the respective Kharif crop. Rabi aru Kharifor mazot जिटु आमार एटा particular period of season থাকে হেতুক আমি কৈ আছো Zaid season. Okay, also it is sown and harvested between March and June, and therefore you can see pumpkin, cucumber, bitter gourd ebilak eta particular areas hoy where we have to focus on the respective elements of what to be known as the Kharif season, crop season of Rabi as well as the Zaids. Okay, now if I have to say about fertilizers, okay, jodi moi fertilizers ole apola what basically the fertilizers means. Okay, now I have to say that fertilizers are some of the organic elements which has been disposed towards the soil so as to make the productivity increase. Okay, so I have got various forms of fertilizers. তো মই যদি আজি কওঁ about natural fertilizers. So natural fertilizers are derived from plants as well as animals and are known as organic fertilizers. So organic fertilizers also can be obtained from various number of products, be it agricultural waste, be it livestock manure, be it industrial waste, and also be it municipality sludge. And if I have to say about inorganic waste, I can say that chemical fertilizers generated by chemical techniques that contain nutrients for crop growth are known to be inorganic fertilizers. And therefore inorganic fertilizers are of different types. তাতে nitrogen fertilizers পৰি যাব, phosphorus fertilizers পৰি যাব. So these are the types of inorganic fertilizers. Now if I have to say about the advantages of fertilizers, there are various number of advantages. কি advantages পৰি যাব? See, fertilizers are easy to transport, they are easy to store as well as they are easy to apply. Okay, for supplying, okay, for you have to say about supplying this specific nutrient, we can select a fertilizer due to its nutrient specific nature. And therefore, the water soluble and can easily dissolve in the respective soil, and hence they are easily absorbed by the plants, which are a very important criteria of using a fertilizer. So therefore, if I have to increase the crop yield and I have to provide enough food for a larger population, I have to go ahead with fertilizers. So if I have to say about today fertilizers, today we know that India does not produces a good number of fertilizers on its own. আমি produce কৰো মই নাই কোৱা যে নকৰো, but India does not produce a good amount of fertilizers on its own, but today we are importing a maximum number of fertilizers from a country like Russia. আজি যদি মই কওঁ পেট্ৰলিয়াম ক্ৰুড অইল এইবিলাকো আমি ৰাছিয়াৰ পৰা কৰি আছো, আৰু second thing that we are directly procuring in maximum, for which we are directly going with a more and more number of trade deficit with Russia, it is all because of fertilizers. Okay, so therefore I have seen the advantages of fertilizers, which we have to cater to feed a population like us, which is today a greater population. Okay, so advantages or লগত কিবা কি বস্তু আহে, disadvantage কিছুমান সোমাই থাকে. So now you have to say about disadvantages. I can say that these fertilizers are basically very expensive in nature. Also I can say that the ingredients in the fertilizers are very much toxic, even to the skin and even to the respiratory system. আজি যদি আমি বেছিকে fertilizers এটা crops use কৰিলো, then at some point of time when we will have an intake of that particular crops or the product, then obviously the inorganic or the organic fertilizers will directly come to our body, which can affect the respiratory system, which can affect every type of system associated with our body. So therefore we can see that it has got some of the health impacts, and also we have got various number of impacts with respective to even soil. Eta soil jodi ami basic fertilizers use koru, that makes the soil very much of detrimental to further number of crop rotation and even for various number of crops production. Multi production কমি যায়, utility of the soil directly decreases, আৰু তাতে আমি কি কৰিব নোৱাৰো, crop rotation কৰিব নোৱাৰো. That is a major challenge of the use of fertilizers. But yes, we can see that there is a good importance of fertilizers, because with such a limited resources, it is quite challenging to meet the demands of the expanding population, and agriculture output has declined due to pest, a shortage of fertilizers, and decreasing soil fertility. So the significance of fertilizers in agriculture has expanded as a result of the importance of the usings of this particular fertilizer. If fertilizer use kora karane, we can see that the importance of this fertilizers has gradually increased. Okay, so therefore in this particular scenario, if I have to say about that there are various good impacts of fertilizers, has got various uses of fertilizers. So fertilizers has been used, fertilizers is essential for the plants to be pest resistant. It improves the water holding capacity and also increases the root depth. Also, the potassium content present in the fertilizer strengthens the straws and stalks of the plant. So the phosphorus present in the fertilizers help in faster development of roots and the formation of seeds in the plant. And nitrogens in the fertilizers promotes plant growth, which is seen in the green color of the plants. Okay, so ekhini bostu amar ahe with respective to the importance of fertilizers. Okay, so ekhini amar ei gutei ইয়াতে যিমানখিনি আমাৰ মেইন কাৰেণ্ট এফেয়াৰ্ছৰ পোৰ্শনটো আছিলে ইয়াত আমাৰ মেইনলি স্পেসিফিক্যালি কাৰেণ্ট এফেয়াৰ্ছৰ পোৰ্শনটোত এইখিনি ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট হৈছে that is the prime minister is going for this one okay etu bostu important hoy jay that is mainly focused on prime minister's farmer friendly Modi government so therefore it was a news and we have all discussed about the importance of this particular number of fertilizers as well as the crops that has been grown in this particular season chalo coming to the next one next ki question re-verification of PM Kisan beneficiaries near completion so yate ki hor kotha koise प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि okay so प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि here which a central sector scheme there is a particular difference between a centrally sponsored scheme and a central sector scheme so central sector scheme বুলি যেতিয়া আমি কওঁ তেতিয়ালে কি কৈ আছো it is 100% government funded that is the central government it is has got no relation with the respective state government but যেতিয়া মই কওঁ centrally sponsored scheme so etut ki hoy jay centrally sponsored here the ratio will be shared in between the central government as well as the state government ratio can be anything between 90:10 between 60:40 ji kuno hobo pare okay supposedly moi jodi ko in some of the challenging areas like northeast supposedly in challenging areas like the Himalayan regions tate ki hobo pare the ratio will be 90:10 90 taka dibo kune center e dibo aru 10 taka kune dibo state e dibo but if some of the developed states like Maharashtra jodi kotha ko Maharashtra yate 60 taka dibo pare aru central government kiman dibo pare 40 taka dibo pare so that is the difference between a central sector scheme and a central sponsored scheme to yate obviously kihor kotha koisu yate ami koisu eta central sector scheme or kotha koisu with 100% funding coming from the government of India that is the central government to yar naam to ki hoy gol Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi that is PM Kisan okay so yate ki koise it is being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare very important ei bostu kune implement kori ase bahut important hoy thik ase then what has been told about under the scheme the central transfers an amount of rupees 6000 per year in 3 equal installments okay so 3 equal installment mane kiman hobo 2000 per month okay so 6000 per year in 3 equal installments so obviously eto amar bifurcate kori dibo supposedly January February March then April May June then July August September teneke ami divide kori dibo bostu then all the individual farmer irrespective of the size of their land holdings okay tar pisot yate ahi jay ki the entire responsibility of identification of beneficiary farmer families rest with the state or UT government to yate ki kori ase state government e khali identify kori ase যে actually who needs the respective benefits etu khali identify kori ase baki sector paisa jiman kini ahi ase ekini kor pora ahi ase central government or pora ahi ase and therefore this becomes a particular news in the coming times बहुत important hoy side next amar ahi gol ki carbon sequestration so yate ki koise definition to it is the process of capturing and storing atmospheric carbon dioxide and it is one method of reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere with the goal of reducing global climate change important hoy jay so carbon sequestration is the long term storage of carbon in plants soils geological formations and even the oceans so carbon sequestration occurs both naturally and as a result of anthropogenic activities and typically refers to the storage of carbon jetia moi ko anthropogenic that means what it is basically when the interface of humans are directly associated with the respective environment or with the respective nature etu hoy jay carbon sequestration so there are various types of carbon sequestration yate moi already eta bostu likhi thoisu say about what you can see over here next slide probably and so it is basically what one method of reducing the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere with the goal of reducing global climate change so carbon sequestration is an important aspect of reducing the climate change aru ami eta ki loisu eta ami pran loisu eta আমি এনেকুৱা হৈছে লাইক আমি বিদ্যা খাইছো যেনেকৈ আমাৰ অসমীয়া মানুহে কয় ওকে যে বিদ্যা খাইছো এটো কাম কৰিমে ওকে এটো কাম কৰিছো এনেকুৱা টাইপৰ আমি যেটো হয় আমি এটা পাৰ্টিকুলাৰ swear কৰিছো যে we will not increase the atmospheric temperature more than 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius and that is an important factor associated with even the carbon sequestration to jetia moi aje types or kotha koru types of ki ahi jay terrestrial carbon sequestration so etu ki hoy it is the process through which the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere is absorbed by trees and plants through photosynthesis and stored as carbon in soils and biomass. আৰু এই বায়োমাছটোত কি পৰি যায় বায়োমাছত আহি যায় tree trunks branches foliage and roots এটো আহি যায় ক'ত in the respective biomass okay আৰু এটা আছে geological carbon sequestration ইয়াতে কি আহি যায় the carbon dioxide can be stored including oil reservoirs gas reservoirs unminable coal seams and saline formations and even shale formations with high organic content যেতিয়া মই organic বুলি কওঁ তেতিয়া মানে ডাইৰেক্টলি তাতে কাৰ্বন এমাউন্টটো বহুত বেছি থাকিব সাপোজলি মই যদি এটা কোলৰ কথাও কওঁ ওকে কোলত সবতকে কাৰ্বন কনসেন্ট্ৰেশনটো কাৰ বেছি এন্থ্ৰাসাইট কোলৰ বেছি তাৰপিছত আহে বিটুমিনাছ তাৰপিছত আহে লিগনাইট তাৰপিছত আহে পি লাহে লাহে কমি গৈ আহে কাৰ্বন organic compounds too so this organic compounds is what where the carbon concentration is much more so etu ahi gol amar ki geological carbon sequestration tarpor eta ahe ocean carbon sequestration to etu ki hoy so it release and store large amounts of CO2 from the atmosphere and this can be done in two ways kenake kore eta through enhancing productivity of the ocean biological system through iron fertilization and injecting CO2 into the deep ocean. So deep ocean on ami ki koru carbon dioxide to inject koru so as to make the sequestration very much good. Now if I have to see about the dumping of iron stimulates be it the phytoplanktons which is very much available in the oceans so which in turn directly leads to the enhanced photosynthesis from these microorganisms helping in CO2 absorptions. So these are the two ways but there are various methods through which we can directly associate ourselves with the natural carbon sequestration. Jodi moi naturally carbon sequestration koribo lage so it directly says about the process by which nature has achieved the balance of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere suitable for sustaining livelihoods. So animals expel carbon dioxide as do plants during the night. And nature provides trees, the oceans, the earth, the animals themselves as carbon sinks or sponges. Now if I have to say about artificial carbon sequestration. So artificial carbon sequestration boli kwa laga lage ki buzu ami it refers to a number of processes whereby carbon emissions are captured at the point of production. Aru production bla kot hoy ase factory chimneys jiblak amar chimneys thake tate ebilak bostu produce hoy ase okay and that is one of the very important area where we are directly getting more and more number of carbon okay so therefore one proposed method is ocean sequestration whereby carbon dioxide is injected deep into the ocean forming lakes of carbon dioxide okay and another example is basically known to be the geological sequestration where the carbon dioxide is pumped into underground chambers such as oil reservoirs aquifers and coal seams that are unable to be mined. So though we have got a lot many number of challenges with respect to artificial carbon sequestration. Keneke challenges ase technology lag ase. High cost. Okay, iman সহজ নহয় directly ইয়াতে আমি এখন oceanৰ মাজত গৈ পেলাই carbon to input কৰি দিয়াটো বহুত এটা ডাঙৰ factor আহি যায়. So therefore high cost, lack of technology, environmental concerns because here mainly the anthropogenic factors directly came into prominence. আৰু যত মানুহ আহি যাব to play with the nature obviously we will directly have an impact on it. So tate environmental concerns আছে. But we can see that the potential of artificial carbon sequestration is much more because yate ki hoy ase faster sequestration hoy ase productivity increase hoy ase aru lastly I can say through this process employments are getting generated which is very much a requirement in a country like India because we have got more population who is totally unemployed in nature. Okay, so that is one of the major aspect of this carbon sequestration which has been discussed in this particular current affairs. So moi jiman khini paru tumalok gutekhini data dibo goisu data dibo saisu to iman khinir purai amar questions khudar sombhabona da thake. Okay, so that is one of the important aspect of carbon sequestration. Next amount. Okay, oil science MOU with the Giboy Forest Division, carbon sequestration, restoration of degraded forest. To hekhini kothai koi ase, yate oiler logot amar ta cooperation hoise. So that is the same thing of carbon sequestration. So this is the whole process of carbon sequestration. You can see how it is basically injected artificially. Okay, how the depleted oil gas reserves can directly go for the more number of carbon dioxide, how the bones with bacteria can form, and how we can directly take more and more number of carbon out from the respective industries. So it was a overall process with it. Then next, Enforcement Directorate seizes rupees 551 crore deposits of Xiaomi for FEMA violations. Foreign Exchange Management Act. Ketia ahisile? Kunbai mo comment ot go paribo niki? FEMA Act 1999, very important. Foreign Exchange Management Act. So what was that? So it is a legal framework for the administration of foreign exchange transactions in India, which is provided by this FEMA Act of 1999. And under this FEMA, which came into force by the time of around 2000, if I am not wrong, it is basically 1st June 2000. Okay, 1st June 2000, where all transactions involving foreign exchanges has been classified as capital or current transactions. Duta proper divide kora goisile. Capital or current transactions. Okay, so we can see that the current account transactions are all transactions that are undertaken by a resident that do not alter his or her assets or liabilities, including even the liabilities outside India are known to be the current account transactions. Supposedly, if I give an example of payment in connection with foreign trade, expenses in connection with foreign travel, education in foreign nations, etc. are referred to as current account transactions. But if I have to say about capital account transactions, it includes those transactions which are undertaken by a resident of India in such a way that his or her assets or liabilities are altered. That means they are either increased or they are directly decreased. Alter koribo. Yet example ki hai, supposedly if I have an investment in foreign securities, I have an acquisition of an immovable property outside India. So that are basically known to be capital account transaction. Kali porhi moi jodi go pelai Pakistan go pelai jeta mati loi lom, ghor loi lom, etela obviously ki hobo? Etu ahi jabo amar capital account transaction. But moi jodi pohibole jao without having any type of properties, tetia mur ahi jabo current account transaction. Buji pala sobe bostuto? Okay, so that is the important criteria of this FEMA. Ei FEMA tu ami pisot invite kori dilu ekeloge kar logot PMLA logot. That is Prevention of Money Laundering. So what is basically PMLA? Money laundering goes to keep. Money laundering is basically the change of money from a black money to white money. Okay, black money to white money change to ami ki koi asu money laundering boli koi asu. Okay, and there are various number of process. First ot amar ahe placement, tarpsot ahe layering, aru last ot ahe integration. So these are the three areas, three ways through which money laundering takes place in every sense of time. Okay, so here to our class to prevent PMLA, ami FEMA to PMLA koridilu, which came around in 2002. So it adds to the concept of reporting entity, which would include a banking company, financial institutions, intermediary, etc. So PMLA 2002 levied a fine of rupees 5 lakhs, but the Amendment Act has removed this upper limit. And now it has been provided for a provisional attachment and confiscation of property of any persons involved in such activities. So today I can say that PMLA to kune basically use kore, it is basically by the Enforcement Directorate, okay, who goes for confiscation of properties of anyone who is directly taking actions against India. Okay, so yate ekhini kothai koa goisile about this particular topic. Sorry. Okay. Next, Indian economy may take 12 years to recoup from COVID losses, RBI report. Okay, so you can see about the Indian economy. Okay, Indian economy has totally declined during the coronavirus outlook. Jetia amar coronavirus ahisile, COVID ahisile, tetia obviously Indian economy directly uthibo para nasile, aru Indian economy downfall hoisile, and that too in negative ways. Okay, so moi enuka ekhon chart banai diu, Indian economy kenake goi asile, it is something like this. They are going something like this, negative ot goi asile, positive ot joa nasile. So they were going in a negative growth rate. So a bostu to amar important hoi jay, because see, coronavirus has greatly impacted the Indian economy, and we can see that even the OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, they have slashed India's growth forecast by that time period by 110 basis points, which is around 5.1% warning at the impact of COVID-19. And therefore, this economical slower or this economical sluggard has not only impacted only one sector. Supposedly, if I say about pharmaceuticals are greatly impact korisile. Okay, given the pharmaceutical industry is deep linkage to China because of the APIs. What are the APIs? They are the active pharmaceutical ingredients. Active pharmaceutical ingredients. So these APIs are basically coming in from China, and they are also called as what? Can you tell me what is the name these are called as? They are called as bulk drugs. Bulk drugs bully ko dekhe bolo. APIs bulako. Okay, and they are very much significant ingredient in the manufacturing of drugs. Are etu mainly corpora, like we can see that the hub of the API manufacturing industry. It is the Hubei province in China. Hubei province. Are etu kor ase? China ase. So Hubei province in China is directly one of the major area, and it's the hotspot, or it's directly the hub of the API manufacturing industry. So India is heavily import dependent for APIs from China, and this API imports stand at around $3.5 billion per year, and around 70% of the APIs that we directly receive today for the production of pharmaceutical products. 70% APIs corpora here in India, it is directly coming in from China. So etu karone moi patai ko that China logot amar beleg relation thakok na thakok, China is maintaining economic relations with India. We do not have got any other relations with China. Na political ase, na defense ase, na technological ase, eku nai. Ki ase okol? Only ase economical relations. Okay. So ei jitu amar impact hoisile. Ei impact to not only pharmaceutical industry, automobile industry to hoisile, because China is one of the leading suppliers of auto components in India, which is amounting to around ki komar China kotha, which is amounting to around 72% of India's imports. That is the level of imports. Okay, sorry, not 72, I think 27. Okay, মানে অলপ চাইনাৰ ওপৰত বেছি কোনতে কোনতে নিজে বেহকি গলো মই ওকে মই কি গলো লাইক খঙে উঠি যায় কেতিয়াবা যে ইমানখিনি বস্তু আমি আনি আছো বাট ষ্টিল চাইনা ইজ টোটালি হেভিং এন এগ্ৰেছন টুৱাৰ্ডছ ইণ্ডিয়া সো এট লিষ্ট এটো আমাৰ 27% আজি আমাৰ ইম্পোৰ্ট অটোমোবাইলৰ পৰা আহি আছে ইট ইজ ডাইৰেক্টলি কামিং ইন ফ্ৰম চাইনা ওকে সো এইখিনি বস্তু আমাৰ কাৰণে ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট হৈ যায় এণ্ড দিস কৰোনা ভাইৰাছ ইজ এক্সপেক্টেড টু হেভ এন ইম্পেক্ট অন দি ইণ্ডিয়ান অটোমোবাইল ইণ্ডাষ্ট্ৰি আৰু হেতু কাৰণে আমাক ইয়াতে এটা ডাঙৰ চ্যালেঞ্জ দেখুৱা দিছে even World Bank, even IMF বহুতে কৈ আছে even this coronavirus has got a good impact on our stock markets okay on our respective currency fall হৈ গৈছিলে according to US dollar okay so therefore these are the areas through which we can see that over here such number of activities have directly made to fall during the criteria of this particular pandemics okay so ইয়াত সেইখিনি কথাই কোৱা গৈছে about the areas through which we need to focus on the respective elements. So yate koa goise the Indian economy may take 12 years to recoup from the COVID losses. RBI report. So eto recently RBI published korise. Next to lea. Government modifies guidelines for issuing caste certificates. So ekdam poruke eta news asile. So yate koise modified guidelines for issuance of caste certificates includes nature of documents required for establishing eligibility for getting such certificates to scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and other backward classes or more other backward classes. So yate government allo modify korise rules bila sorry okay so DCs will not insist on NRC document for application for caste certificate and no inquiry will be required in the authority is satisfied with the further caste certificates and inquiry if required will be limited to caste status only and will be completed within 45 days. Okay, so it horu sa eta news asile about the caste certificates which recently government has modified some of the respective guidelines. So iman relevant নহয় but since eto eta SC ST লৈ bila অলপ কথা আমি চলি আছিলো recently যেতিয়া APSC result to like there is a contest of going with respect to the EWS okay that is the economically weaker section so tar karone EWS to কতৰাই দিয়া গৈছে এবাৰ So এই কনটেক্সটৰ কাৰণে দিস নিউজ আৰ ইন নিউজ, সেইটো কাৰণে আমি যেটো দেখিলো ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট বুলি লাগিল, সেইটো কাৰণে আমি এটো অকমান ডিসকাস কৰি ললো। Okay, so that is one of the important aspect of this particular news. Next কি আহিলে, এটা ছোটা সা নিউজ আছে, high rejection of mission Basundhara applicants. So here mission Basundhara 2.0. Okay, so people won't need to be visit circle officers in their cities because all information will be accessible on their mobile devices. So mission Basundhara 2.0 বা mission Basundhara বুলি মই যদি কওঁ, it's a mission initiated by the Assam government for land reforms. And what was the main focus of this particular exercise? So it is the survey of non-cadastral. Okay, survey of non-cadastral. Cadastral is basically an area where revenues are generated. Small village, etu koi cadastral boli. Okay, so survey of non-cadastral village, okay, has been undertaken, resolving some of the land related disputes and also completing all pending and partition and mutation cases in a mission mode by opening a portal which is known as Mission Basundhara. Okay, also organizing Raja Adalat. Raja Adalat ki hoy? It's conducted in Assam to dispose of the cases related to land revenue. Okay, so now after this particular launch, which was launched during the time of 2nd October 2021, launch kora goisile Mission Basundhara 1.0. Okay, but now from May 11 around 2022, all services provided on the mission will be available accordingly in the government websites, and therefore this mission 2.0 will directly aid the benefits which have been disposed during mission Basundhara 1.0. যেতিয়া 1.0 টো আছিল তেতিয়া এটো বস্তু চলি আছিল, বহুত মানুহে এই বস্তুটোৰ প্ৰসেসটোৰ কথা নাজানিছিল। ওকে, আৰু নাজানাৰ কাৰণে কি হৈ গল, বহুত জায়গাত মিউটেশন খিনি কমপ্লিট নহল, বহুত পেন্ডিং কেसेस থাকিলে, বহুত মানুহে কমপ্লেইন কৰিলে কি আমাৰ এতিয়ালৈকে কমপ্লিট হোৱা নাই এপ্লিকেশন প্ৰসেসটো। তো এইখিনি আকৌ এবাৰ ৰেক্টিফাই কৰিবলৈ গভৰ্নমেন্টে মিশন বসুন্ধৰা 2.0 টো আৰম্ভ কৰিছে, আৰু তাতে মিশন বসুন্ধৰা 2.0 টো government is trying to make it more efficient as comparison even to its own program that was launched in 2021 that was known to be the Mission Basundhara 1.0. So etu eta amar important criteria ahi jay about the Mission Basundhara. Okay, chalo yata ami gutei khini jeta pdf kon share korim, tetia tomaloke gutei bostu khini yat pai jaba je how and what are the important aspects of Mission Basundhara. Okay, next, SC are centered to clear stand on sedition law. Okay, sedition law. Sedition law বুলি ক'লে মই এটা historical background ত যাম দেই এতিয়া চাবা। See, sedition laws were enacted in 17th century in England when the lawmakers believed that only good opinions of government should survive as bad opinions were detrimental to the government and monarchy. কাৰণ আমি জানো ইংলেণ্ডত কি আছিল, monarchy আছিল, monarchy was there in England. Okay, so anything against them is basically is considered to be someone who is going against the ethos and the principles of the society. So the law was originally drafted around 1837. Originally draft kore goisile 1837, and who drafted it? Thomas Macaulay. Thomas Macaulay tekhete draft korisil. Okay, and he was basically one, he was basically British historian plus politician, dujone hoy, and he was inflexibly omitted when the IPC was enacted in 1860. IPC ketia aisile 1860, ekhon etio ami follow kori aso. So section 124A was inserted in 1870. Kuntu section 124A ketia homa goisile in 1870. So this was inserted by an amendment which was introduced by Sir James Stephen. Ebilak naam mo jibla koi aso olop important hoi jay monot rakhiba since it is a news. Sir James Stephen tekhene arambho korisile ei bostutu, and it was one of the many draconian laws enacted to stifle any voices of dissent of that time. So today if I see about some of the famous sedition trials during freedom movements, some of the most famous sedition trials of the late 19th and the early 20th century involved Indian nationalist leaders. Okay, the first among them being was the trial of Jogendra Chandra Bose, JC Bose, in 1891. 1891 or JC Bose. JC Bose 1891. It was the first case of sedition. Okay, and he was basically the editor of the newspaper what? Bangobasi. Bangobasi. He was editor of this particular newspaper. He wrote an article criticizing the age of consent bill for posing a threat to the religion and for its coercive relationship with Indians. So, hetu karone tekhetok 124 A andarat bhorai disile jailot. Sedition case of. We also know about the most well-known cases, okay, that are the 3 sedition trials of Bal Gangadhar Tilak and the trial of Mahatma Gandhi in 1922, okay, where Gandhi was charged along with Shankar Lal Bankar, the proprietor of Young India, for 3 articles published in the weekly which criticized the British government. So anyone know why the sedition law was basically not used during that time. It was used vehemently during that time. Okay, today if a sedition laws jodi moi sabo jao, so sedition is a crime under section 124A of the IPC, which defines sedition as an offense committed when any person by words, either spoken or written, or by sign or by visible representation or otherwise, brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt or excites or attempt to excite disaffection towards the government established by the law of India. So etu asile eta proper definition of what? Sedition. So disaffections boli kole ki bujo ami? Disaffection includes disloyalty and feelings of enmity. So that is one of the very important areas where the sedition has been defined. So there are various punishment for the offense of sedition. See, seditions boli koa lage lage ami janu that sedition is basically what? It is a non-bailable offense. It's a non-bailable offense. Ek kesot jodi tumalok kunba ta pori jua, moi bicharu je nopora tumalok kuno, because we all love our country, we are a patriotics. Everyone needs to be a patriotic person living in this country, because this country is our motherland and this country has given us a lot. Okay, but still, if someone is directly under this sedition law, so obviously it will be a non-bailable warrant. And therefore, this type of punishment can be an imprisonment up to 3 years to lifetime. 3 bosorar pora lifetime oloke jailot thakibo lagibo pare. Okay, so a person who is charged under this law is barred from any form of government job. Kuno government চাকৰি কৰিব নোৱাৰে, because obviously যদি government against এ কৈ আছে, government চাকৰি কৰি কি কৰিবা? একো কৰিব নোৱাৰা. So therefore today through this sedition law there are various number of Supreme Court decisions that has been made. So ইয়াতে মই ক'ব পাৰো এটা seditioner definitions seditioner case in 1950, okay, Brij Bhushan versus the state of Delhi, and also the Romesh Thapar versus the state of Madras. Okay, এইবিলাক ক্ষেত্ৰত বহুতখিনি ক্ষেত্ৰত আমি দেখিছো যে সুপ্ৰিম কোৰ্টে আৰ্টিকল 19 টু আকৌ এবাৰ ডেসক্ৰাইব কৰিছিল, আৰ্টিকল 19 টু ডিসকাস কৰিছিল। তো এনেকুৱা বহুত ধৰণৰ কেसेस আছে য'ত আমি সুপ্ৰিম কোৰ্টে বহুতখিনি জেগাত এই গোটেই কেছবিলাকৰ এই গোটেই কেছটো খুলি মেলি চাইছে, এই গোটেই সেডিশন বস্তুটো ভালকে খুলি মেলি চালি জাৰি চাই পেলাই তেখেতসকলে ডিসিশন এটা লৈছে। In 1962 also I can see about a case which is, I remember, if the Kedarnath Singh versus the state of Bihar, তেনেকুৱা এটা কেছ আছিল সেডিশনৰ। So হেতুটো আপহেল কৰিছিল কি the constitutionality of sedition, okay, যে এই বস্তুটো লগাব পাৰে গভৰ্ণমেণ্টে, because obviously it is protecting the country's unity and integrity. So আজি বহুতখিনি এই সেকশনটোৰ ওপৰত বহুতখিনি আৰ্গুমেন্টস ইন ফেভাৰো আছে, ইন সাপোৰ্ট, that means, আৰু বহুতখিনি ইন এগেইনষ্টও আছে। Okay, but মই ইমান ডিটেইলছ হলে নাযাওঁ, because we have got more number of things to consider. Okay, so আমি এই বস্তুখিনি এখিনি জানিব লাগে যে sedition law is a very much supreme in our country, and therefore today the Supreme Court asked center to clear stand on sedition law. তো আজি গভৰ্ণমেণ্টৰ কি ষ্টেণ্ড হয়, গভৰ্ণমেণ্টে কি কৰিব বিচাৰে sedition লৈ পেলাই, সেইখিনি আমাৰ কাৰণে এটা ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট এসপেক্ট হৈ যায়, যেটো বস্তু আমি ইয়াতে আজি ডিসকাস কৰিম। ওকে, চলো নেক্সট পে আতে हैं। ওকে, ইয়াতে গোটেইখিনি দিয়া আছে ভালকে, তোমালোকে যে পিডিএফ টো পাবা ভালকে চাই লবা। ওকে, okay, next কি আহিব ইয়াতে, the concept high court verdict on plea seeking criminalization of marital rape today. ইয়াত মেইন কনসেপ্টটো আহি গল marital rape। তো marital rape টো বুজি গলে তোমালোকে গম পাই যাবা যে what is marital rape. Okay, see, when I say about marital rapes in our country, okay, so domestic violence in India is an entrenched problem and it has only exacerbated in recent times. A domestic problem or basic হৈছিল কেতিয়া, during the COVID times. কোভিড টাইমত কাৰণ হাজবেণ্ড ৱাইফ একেলগে থাকে ওকে কাম কৰিবলৈ বা বাহিৰত যাবলৈ কোনো অপচনছ নাছিলে সো তেতিয়া এই ডমেষ্টিক ভায়োলেন্সৰ কেছটো বহুত বেছি হৈছিলে ওকে সো উই ক্যান সি দ্যাট ওয়ান such manifestation of domestic violence is marital rape and marital rape the act of forcing your spouse okay into having sex without proper consent is an unjust yet not uncommon way to disregard and disempower women. So it is basically marital rape to আজিলৈকে কিয় আমি হেৰি কৰিব পৰা নাই because obviously it is post marriage and post marriage sexual activity is very much common between the spouses, the husband as well as the wife. Okay, so today I can see that the status of marital rape in India is that when I have to go for the codification of making something a rape. So আজি মই the definition of rape underot আজি মই section 375 of the IPC মই সব include কৰি ধৰিছো the sexual assault involving non-consensual intercourse with a woman. Even it goes for sodomy, okay, which is known to be the unnatural sex from behind. So etu ahija amar yaar. So today non-criminalization of marital rape in India emanates exception to section 375. আজি আমি 375 or ভিতৰত marital rape to নধৰো because we considered that sexual activity may be very much common between the husband and wife after or post marriage. Okay, so therefore as per current law a wife is presumed to deliver perpetual consent to have sex with her husband after entering into marital relations. And the concept of marital rape in India is the epitome of what we are calling as implied consent. Because marriage between a man and a woman here implies that both have consented to sexual intercourse and it cannot be otherwise. So today, marital rape is against legal and constitutional rights. That means I can say about the doctrine of coverture. Doctrine of coverture means what? Supposedly the non-criminalized nature of marital rapes emanates from the British era. And the marital rape largely influenced and derived from this doctrine of merging the women's identity with that of her husband. So the marital exceptions to the IPC's definition of rape was drafted on the basis of the British norms. But today, everything has changed in the context of this country. So why not this rape could be included under section 375. Also, it says about the violation of article 14. Because marital rape violates the right to equality enshrined in Article 14 of the Indian Constitution. Because to have each other's body, each other's consent, obviously we need a proper consent from each other and everyone has the right to consent. Also, it defeats the spirit of section 375. Because the spirit of the section 375 is to protect women and to punish those who are engaged in inhuman activity of rape with a woman. Also, if I say about violation of Article 21, which is basically a fundamental right, so it includes the right to health, privacy, dignity, safe living conditions, and also safe environment among others. So therefore, even there is a particular case which I remember just now in the state of Karnataka versus Krishnappa, the Supreme Court at that point of time said that sexual violence apart from being a dehumanizing act is an unlawful intrusion to the right of privacy and sanctity of a female. So তেনেকৈ বহুত কেसेছ আছে মই এটা পুট্টাস্বামী কেছ বুলিও জানো okay versus Union of India. Then there is a case of Suchitra Srivastav versus Chandigarh administration, okay, where the Supreme Court equated the right to make choices related to sexual activity with rights to personal liberty, privacy, dignity, bodily injuries and all these things. Okay, so therefore today the United Nations Declaration on Elimination of Violence Against Women also defines violations against women as any act of gender-based violence that results or likely to result in physical, sexual or mental harm or even suffering of the women going in for various number of courses in their private life. So it was an important criteria why we need to have a marital rape law in our country. So today Indian law now affords husbands and wives separate and independent legal entities, and much jurisprudence in the modern era is explicitly connected or concerned with the protection of women. So therefore it is high time that the legislature should take cognizance to this infirmity and bring marital rape within the purview of rape laws under section 375 extension 2 of the IPC. So etu ahi gol amar marital rape or oporot jikhini amar explanations. Okay, now coming to the next point, Section 148 of the IT Act. Okay, so yate mainly ki koa ase, it states that if individual's actual income has escaped assessment from the IT department, assessing which issue a notice to furnish necessary documents to prove that they are tax compliant. Okay, so yate basically basi eku iman janibo laga bostu nai amar yat, but mainly ami yat ki janibo lagibo about the IT Act which has been recently discussed. Okay, so we know about that the government enacted the original IT legislation in 2000. And the IT Amendment Act came into force in 2009 with an aim at facilitating e-governance, preventing cybercrime, and even fostering some of the security forces within the country. So recently, that is, the government has notified Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules 2021. So আজি আমাৰ যিখিনি IT law আছে সেইখিনি বহুত important হয়, because IT laws আমাক লাগে because we are entering into the digital age. Okay, there is a rise of split internet. Okay, supposedly আজি যদি আমি জানো split internet মানে কি বস্তু আহিছে, supposedly আমি যদি জানো that this particular country like USA. Okay, so USA is basically using GPS. If I say about China, China is using Beidou. Okay, so then again India ki use kori ase, India use kori ase Navik, though it is not full-fledgedly, but ebla ki hoye ase split internet eta bostu ke sob country beleg ke banai ase. Okay, so already we can see that amar yar karone strict regulations lagibo, aru ei regulations bilakor kotha pati bole IT Act of Section 148 is clearly described, okay, to be one of the areas where the high pitch assessment is directly required to have a control over the respective elements of cybersecurity and also various number of crimes associated with the Information Technology Act. Okay, so if you are a whole can use asile about the IT Act. Next amu okay, see about the persons who are only paying taxes. Let us have out of 125 crore Indians, only 1.5% jikita ronga dekisa egita only income tax pay kori ase, baki ego pai income tax pay korai nai. Okay, so that is the criteria of India pay. Okay, so you can see all these things. Okay, so ebla olop sai loba bhalke pisot in the PDF. Okay, now if I have to say about the next one, section 148. Okay, animal husbandry and veterinary are the major departments of government of Assam. So here ki ahise, recent Assam adopted the Assam Cattle, okay, that is the Assam Cattle Preservation Amendment Act. Okay, yaar hetu kothai mainly koa goise. So etu ki hoy, so we can see that recently a cow protection law, Assam Cattle Preservation Amendment Act 2021, Assam enforces less than a year ago. Okay, and it has led to an acute beef crisis in Meghalaya, because we know that Meghalaya consumes a huge quantity of beef mainly coming in from Assam. Okay, অসমত গৰু বেছি পোৱা যায় আৰু তাতে যিহেতু মেঘালয়ত beef is very much common. So it is important to note that northeastern states today such as Arunachal, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland do not have any such law regulating cattle slaughter. Okay, so etu karone amar eta important criteria hoy gol, what is the key features associated with this particular act aru tar logot kiman khini amar issues jorito hoy ase. So today the act prohibits the slaughter of cows. Okay, it permits the slaughter of other cattle. Supposedly jodi moi kong je sob cattle ban neki nohoy, sob cattle ban nohoy, it permits the slaughter of other cattle which are bulls, bullocks and buffaloes if the cattle is over 14 years of age or has become permanently incapacitated due to injury or deformity. So also it restricts intrastate and interstate transport of cattle and sale of beef except some of the permitted locations. So the relevant authority has got the right to inspect and seize cattle and vehicles used for offences under Act. But today I can see that out of this conviction rate, the seized cattle and vehicles will be 45 if with respect to the state government. But today, with respect to the key features, we have seen various number of issues with this act. So the act unduly limit the transport of cattle in the northeastern parts of India, and therefore this restriction has created mass shortage of beef which is being eaten in regions like Meghalaya. Also this act restricts the cattle transport from Assam to states where slaughter is not regulated, and requirement for the accused to pay maintenance cost of seized cattle during trials may be onerous. So restrictions on places where beef can be sold may be too broad and may in effect amount the prohibition of the sale of the beef in the entire state. So that is one of the major criteria what we have to discuss about this cattle slaughter ban. Okay, so today what is the judiciary's take on this? So over time, I can say that the extent of provision under this state laws has been guided by the Supreme Court. So earlier state laws are those in Madhya Pradesh asile, Bihar asile, Uttar Pradesh asile, which completely prohibits the slaughter of cows. But in 1958, while examining this law, Supreme Court held that complete prohibition of slaughter of cattle infringes upon the fundamental rights of the butcher to practice their trade or profession. Because we know that slaughter of cows is our pension ase, DPSP pension ase, under the Gandhian rule. Okay, so that is one of the major criteria why we have to discuss about this ban and slaughter of cows. Okay, so we have to see that this particular provisions and this particular initiatives for cow protection which has been taken recently, okay, is being a very welcome step to protect the cows which has been massively killed in many numbers without any respective legislation. তো এইটো আমাক ইয়াতে লাগে উইথ ৰেসপেক্ট টু দ্য কাউ স্লটাৰ আৰু হেতু কাৰণে এই কাউ স্লটাৰ বিলখন এটা পাৰ্টিকুলাৰলি নিউজত আছে ওকে নেক্সট আপ নৰ্থ ইষ্ট ফাৰ্ষ্ট কাউ এম্বুলেন্স সাৰ্ভিস লঞ্চ ইন ডিব্ৰুগড় তো ইয়াত ইমান বেছি জানিব লগা মানে একো নাই ওকে সো এইটো আমাৰ এটা ফাৰ্ষ্ট কাউ এম্বুলেন্স সাৰ্ভিস লঞ্চ হৈছে ইন ডিব্ৰুগড় which is a important aspect next put mitigation measures in place before electrification forest department railways তো এইটো কি কৈ আছে মেইনলি ইলেক্ট্ৰিফিকেশন অফ ৰেলৱেজ ওকে আমি জানো আজিপা যিবিলাক আমাৰ ডিজেল লোকোমোটিভস হয় দিজ আৰ ভেৰি মাচ লেছলি ইউজড ওকে আৰু এতিয়া সব জায়গাতে আমি ইলেক্ট্ৰিফিকেশন কৰি আছো সো আজি যদি মই হিষ্ট্ৰী অফ ৰেলৱে চাওঁ 1832 আমি দেখিছিলো দ্য ফাৰ্ষ্ট ৰেলৱে প্ৰপোজালস অফ ইণ্ডিয়া ৱেৰ মেড ইন মাদ্ৰাছ 1837 ত ফাৰ্ষ্ট ট্ৰেইন ইন দ্য ফৰ্ম অফ ৰেড হিল ৰেলৱে কেম ইনটু এক্সিস্টেন্স 1853 এপ্ৰিল চনত ফাৰ্ষ্ট পেছেঞ্জাৰ ট্ৰেইন আহিছিলে ওকে ফ্ৰম মুম্বাই টু থানে Then in 1925, the first electric passenger train between Victoria Terminus and Mumbai directly went into process. 1925, first electric train. After 1951, Indian Railways was nationalized. So as you know, current electrification sound, Indian Railways has set a target to complete electrification in its BG networks, broad gauge economy, by December 2023. Mane a bosorer endor sob tate BG lines bilakot ami electrification pai asu. So today more than 66% of the broad gauge roads has already been electrified. And with 18,065 kilometer, we could see that the electrification of railways are recorded to be going with 371% increase. 371% increase kora hoise on electrification. Okay, as compared to the other levels. So ekhini amar see eta benefits bahut ase electrification or. First, electrification kora lagale ki hobo speed bahibo, capacity bahibo, safety bahibo because obviously improve signaling system bahibo. Less financial burden koila pinibo amar bahut kom lagibo less financial burden then we could see that seamless movement hobo because electric multiple units thakibo okay in various number of urban suburban areas employment generation hobo yate june fitting koribo ahibo june electricians lagi thakibo electric technicians lagi thakibo so they will be duly employed okay energy security because to shift to electric traction will reduce fossil fuel consumption of about 2.83 billion liters per annum and which will also subsequently reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and the target of India to become carbon neutral by around 2070. Okay, tar upor amar energy bill saving hobo jiban ami koila use kori aso takke beshi amar bahut kom lagibo ki energy. Okay, tarpor amar ki ahibo sustainability ahibo because carbon footprint will obviously reduce jimane ami diesel locomotives pa dhua kom erim obviously carbon footprint to komi ahibo. Okay, use of the more renewable energy jeto amar target 175 gigawatt heto ami directly meet koribo parim. So obviously this particular aspect of electrification of railways are very much essential but obviously everything comes with a cost. Okay, aru ei cost to ki hoy jay main cost to ei cost to hoy jay mainly environmental concerns. Okay, so tar karone koise je put mitigation measures kot lage jot lage tate korok electrification jote apnake electrification nokoribo because we can see various number of incidents where the elephants or various number of wild animals directly die out of contact with this number of electric lines. So eto eta amar major factor hoy jay jar karone ei news to ase. Next slide go. Climate change and public engagement. So it mainly climate change kotha koise kot in basically the northeastern area. Okay, climate change kotha koise. So today if I see about northeastern India is showing various number of varieties of climate change such as disruptive weather. Okay, etia ami ketmana agote ki dekhi asilo bahut gorom hoy goisile. Okay, that has stimulated the calamities which has affected the geography of that region very badly. So the northeast India which normally receives heavy rainfall during the monsoon months, that is June to September, okay, has changed character to the worse. So the flood drought cycle now has begun to happen within a year, especially during the monsoon, and even in the monsoon the rain comes in quick bursts and floods the respective region. So between 1989 to around 2020, the region has shown a significant decreasing trend of monsoonal rainfall. যদি মই আজি আসামৰ কথা কওঁ, recently there is a new scenario of first present in the state, কি scenario present কৰিছে, where the city or where the state was very much drought like situations can be seen across districts with a scanty rainfall. তাৰপিছত change in geography from the mountains to the plains, and the number of rainy days has directly decreased in many districts, including the Brahmaputra Valley, including various other regions where even flooding has directly occurred. এইটো যদি মই চাব যাওঁ অৰুণাচল প্ৰদেশতো সেমে কাম হৈ আছে, ইনক্ৰিজ ফ্লাডিং চিনাৰিঅ'ছ, অ'কে। ছাপ'জলি ইফ আই চি এবাউট দ্য আপাৰ চিয়াং, তাতে কি হৈ আছে, যিটো ৰেইনি ছিজন হয় সেইটো ডিক্ৰিজ হৈ গৈ আছে। ড্ৰটছ হৈ আছে ক'ত, ইন ৰিজনছ লাইক ৱেষ্ট কামেং, ইন ৰিজনছ লাইক ইষ্ট কামেং, ড্ৰট হৈ আছে। তাৰপিছত যদি মই নেক্সট ষ্টেটখনলৈ আহোঁ, অ'কে, ইফ আই হেভ টু চে এবাউট দ্য নেক্সট ষ্টেট আফটাৰ অৰুণাচল প্ৰদেশ, মই যদি কওঁ নাগালেণ্ড, অ'কে। চ' নাগালেণ্ড, হিয়াৰ দ্য গ্ৰেডিয়েণ্ট অফ দ্য ৰিভাৰ্ছ ইজ নট স্লিপ as it is Arunachal Pradesh, hence the rivers are not prone to flooding. But recent instances of heavy rainfall events, however, have brought floods to places that has now witnessed such calamities in the decade. Sikkimor jodi moi kotha ahu, North Sikkim showed an increasing trend in monsoonal rainfall, which may be causing an increase in flooding in the Teesta River. So today, this may have led to landslides downstreams in South Sikkim, especially around Gangtok. Okay, and therefore, if I say next about Manipur, so around 67% of the population in Manipur today is dependent on agriculture. So therefore, changing rainfall patterns in the state will impact agriculture, which in turn will impact the state's food security. Also, today moi ahu Meghalaya. So Meghalaya ki hoise? State receives 71% of its annual rainfall during the monsoon season, and today this district has flood-tapped hills and several rivers that has seen significant decrease in the number of rainy days. And the unpredictability of the region can be caused from the fact that the rainfall in July, the wettest month of the state, has a variability of around 40%. 40% reduced হৈ আছে। মিজোৰামত কি হৈ আছে? With the overall rainfall in the 30 years, it has remained constant. The region has seen a substantial drop in the number of rainy days. সবতে বৰষুণ কমি আছে, drought situation আহি আছে। ত্ৰিপুৰাটো একে বস্তুৱে। So in that particular situations, I can say that climate change is very much of adherent. এতিয়া recently আমি শুনিছিলো যে গুৱাহাটীৰ যিটো এয়াৰ কোৱালিটি সেইটো কমি গৈ আছে। So হেতু বাহি গৈ আছে, বাহি যোৱাৰ লগে এয়াৰ যিটো আমাৰ পলিউটেন্স হয় সেইটো বাহি গৈ আছে, and therefore it is becoming more and more impure. তো আজি আমি যিটো উশাহ লৈ আছো, we needs to have a fundamental right which is known as right to free environment, like to clean air. তো এইবিলাক আমি আজিকালি নোপোৱা হৈ গৈছো, আৰু এইটো এটা ডাইৰেক্ট ইম্পেক্ট আহিছে ক্লাইমেট চেঞ্জৰ ওপৰত। ওকে, সো ইয়াৰ কথাই হেতু কথাই ইয়াতে ডাইৰেক্টলি বুজাৱা আছে। নেক্সট, Horonia get elected GMC mayor, to a small simple news, Smita Ray to be his deputy, our mayor is Nutun. Okay, so yate at a simple kotha is a card, urban local government or what to Yatama Visia, just come about the structures of the urban local government in India. So Yatama urban local government or so the urban local government consists of 8 type of local bodies. First here is a municipal corporation. Municipal corporation is a first. Okay, second আমাৰ কি আহিছে, মিউনিসিপালিটি আহিছে। মিউনিসিপাল কর্পোরেশন কোন বিলাকত পাওঁ, বিগ সিটিজ বিলাকত পাওঁ। মিউনিসিপালিটিজ কত পাওঁ, স্মলার সিটিজ টেন্ড টু বি ইন দ্য প্রভিজন অফ মিউনিসিপালিটিজ। ওকে, তাতে আমি মিউনিসিপাল কমিটি বুলিও ক'ব পাৰোঁ, মিউনিসিপাল বোর্ড বুলিও ক'ব পাৰোঁ, মিউনিসিপাল কাউন্সিল বুলিও ক'ব পাৰোঁ, এই গোটেইবিলাক আহি যায়। নোটিফাইড এরিয়া কমিটিজ আর সেট আপ ফর দ্য ফার্স্ট ডেভেলপিং টাউনস। Okay, supposedly if I see about that to look after the basic amenities of this first developing towns, notified area committees are directly coming into prominence. That's what we talk about the town area committee. The town area committee is found in the small towns. Okay, then we can see the ki side that is drainage activities bilak sai, street lighting bilak sai, conservancy bilak sai, bilak sai ase. Cantonment court, military. Okay, the civilian population under the cantonment, that is a military area. That's what township ahi gol. Okay, it has no elected members, and therefore we can see that particularly jibilak amar PSUs thake, ei PSUs bilak amar township pam, eta tomalke jodi amar Guwahati Dulmati gusi jao, you can find the townships. Then port trust kot pai asu, ship ports. Okay, supposedly আজি যদি হালদিয়া পৰ্টত যাওঁ তাতে পাই আছো ports. Okay, so এইবিলাক বস্তু আহি যায় ক'ত, urban local bodies ৰ। So we have got 8 types, আৰু এটা আছে special purpose agency SPA. Okay, এইটো স্পেশালি ডেজিগনেট কৰা যায় for the evolution of various number of works associated with that particular urban city. তো এইটো আহি যায় আমাৰ urban local bodies ৰ আন্ডাৰত। Next topic to কি আহিছে Power Minister invites German firms to invest in India. তো এটো কি আহিছে এটো মেইনলি গ্ৰীণ হাইড্ৰোজেনৰ কথা কৈ আছে okay so green hydrogen কি হয় so see according to the International Renewable Energy Agency hydrogen will make up 12% of the energy mix by around 2050 so this agency also suggested that about 66% of this hydrogen used must come from water instead of natural gas okay so যদি মই কম হাইড্ৰোজেন বুলি so হাইড্ৰোজেন বুলি ক'লে আমি কি বুজো it's the most abundant element on earth for a cleaner alternative fuel option today we have got various number of hydrogen be it the green hydrogen কি হয় it is produced by electrolysis of water কারণ যদি মই আজি ওয়াটার বুলি কম তাহলে কি আহি যায় H2O so এটা অলরেডি আমাৰ হাইড্ৰোজেন molecules আছে so it is powered by electrolysis of water using renewable energy like solar wind and has a lower carbon footprint okay so electricity splits water into hydrogen and oxygen and the byproducts are what water and water vapor তাৰ লগত আমাৰ কি আছে brown hydrogen which is produced using coal where the emissions are released through air আৰু এটা আছে gray hydrogen which is produced from natural gas where the associated emissions are released to the air আৰু এটা আছে blue hydrogen which is produced from natural gas where the emissions are captured using carbon capture and storage তো আজি এই বস্তুটোৰ uses কি হৈ যায় it's an energy carrier and it can act as an source and can deliver and store tremendous amount of energy also it can be used in various number of fuel cells are used করা যায় okay so that is the main aspect of this particular green hydrogen where zero or near zero emissions will be used where to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions in many applications this number of green hydrogen is a need of the hour hetu karone ami yata power minister e invite korise ko German firms because they are very much good in such a sector producing green hydrogen next slide India's poverty myth or reality poverty kotha koa goise olop solopke so what is India's poverty so jodi moi aji poverty boli kom okay today if I have to say about poverty we can see that poverty is a state or condition in which a person or a community directly lacks the financial resources and essentials for a minimum standard of living so poverty means that income level from employment is so low that basic human needs can be met so teneke amar jodi sum in India 21.9% of the population lives below the poverty line as estimated by the index of around 2011 21.9% below poverty line মানুহ আছে এতিয়া no doubt বাহিলে okay but মই যদি 2011 সেন্সাসৰ কথা কৈলো okay so in 2018 or 20 যেতিয়া ৰিপৰ্ট আহিছিলে তেতিয়া কৈছে 8% of the world's workers who are basically below poverty line is basically from India 8% তকৈ বেছি মানুহ ক'ত আছে ইণ্ডিয়াত আছে who are basically poverty so there are various number of poverties এইবিলাক সাকে জানা তোমালোকে types of poverty বুলি ক'লে absolute poverty আহিব okay relative poverty আহিব okay so এইবিলাক এটা আমাৰ particular definition হয় poverty okay so আজি আমাৰ poverty estimation কেনেকৈ হৈ আছে okay আজি আমি জানো নীতি আয়োগে poverty estimation কৰি আছে based on the data captured by the national sample survey that is directly under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation okay and it is directly based on the consumption of expenditure that is basically at the intermediate level okay so এইবিলাক আমাৰ এটা important aspect হৈ যায় about poverty okay so এটো আমি চাই ল'ব লাগিব আৰু এটা আমাৰ ইয়াতে আছে causes of poverty যদি আমাৰ জানিব বিচাৰো causes of poverty কি কি আহিছে population explosion বহুত population হয় কাৰণে poverty বেছি low agriculture productivity then you can see inefficient resource utilization then low rate of economic development price rise হৈ থাকে unemployment হৈ আছে lack of capital for entrepreneurships colonial exploitation আগৰ নিকিল লুটি লৈ গল তাৰ ওপৰত climatic factors তাৰ ওপৰত poverty trap বুলিও এটা কথা থাকে okay so এই গুটেখিনি থাকে তাৰ লগত আমাৰ obviously গভৰ্নমেন্টে বহুত এলিভেশন প্ৰগ্ৰামছ আমাৰ কাৰণে ইউজ কৰিছে integrated rural development program Jawaharlal Rozgar Yojana rural housing this is ami ko Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana food for work program national old pension schemes Annapurna schemes to eblak bahut khini amar eta process ase where government is directly focused towards producing a good number of people associated with poverty okay so etu amar ahi gol poverty so yata gutte khini ami di thoi goise major poverty alleviation programs to ei gutte khini bhal ke ebar sai loba important hoye the next case is marine heat waves causes much bleaching in Great Barrier Reef to yata ki kori ase mainly coral reefs or kotha koise okay so jodi moi ko coral polyps or kotha India jodi moi aji ko India have recorded around 7516.6 km 7517 km dhoriba ki hoy coastline hoy okay where I can see that coral reefs in India are found in lot of areas including the Gulf of Kutch Gulf of Mannar Palk Bay Andaman Nicobar Lakshadweep Island ei gute kin jagar ase so the patches of coral reefs are even found in areas like near to Bombay near to the Mangalore, এই গোটেইখিনি এৰিয়াত coral reefs আছে. So today these coral reefs are directly dying because of various number of heat waves coming in and various number of anthropogenic activities, be the pollutions and all, এই গোটেইখিনি আহি আছে. আজি আমি জানো যে there are various number of types of coral reefs, be the fringing reefs, barrier reefs, atolls, এই গোটেইখিনি আছে coral reefs ৰ ওপৰত. Okay, so today we know that there are various specific conditions for the coral reefs to grow. তাৰ মাজত shallow water থাকে, semi hard or hard surface থাকে, clean water থাকে, warm water থাকে লগত. Okay, saline filled waters থাকে, rich supply of nutrients থাকিব লাগে. But today we have seen that this has been a detrimental to these coral reefs আৰু তাৰ কাৰণে humans majorly responsible হয়. আৰু এনেকুৱা নহয় যে these coral reefs are not essential for humans. Corals are important to marine life because of the following reasons, like the health of the marine life depends on the corals. They support a wide range of ecosystem. Okay, and therefore the corals য'ত থাকে সেইবিলাকক আমি কি কৈ আছো, corals বিলাক য'ত পোৱা যায় সেইবিলাকক আমি rain forest বুলি কৈ আছো. Rain forest. Okay, so they are known as the rainforest of the ocean. Corals provide a place to live a huge variety of fish. Corals are primarily source of food in the natural ecosystem, that is the marine ecosystem. So corals reefs have somewhat similar significance. হেতু কাৰণে আমি কি লাগে, coastal protection লাগিব আমাৰ ওচৰত, food source ভালকে লাগিব, medicinal properties আমাক লাগিব ভালকে, meteorology কাৰণে লাগিব, tourismৰ কাৰণে লাগিব, because obviously this looks very pretty. But today I can say that there are various number of threats to push corals to the brink of extinction. ইয়াতে কি আহি যায় mainly global warming. তাৰপিছত আহি যায় coral bleaching. য'ত এতিয়াই warm temperatures বাঢ়ি গৈ থাকে. So since the corals have a very narrow temperature range, তো সেইকাৰণে যেতিয়া temperature বাঢ়ি যায় তো coral starts dying. তাৰ ওপৰত কি হৈছে, marine pollution, stronger storms and ocean acidification, ozone layer depletion, এইবিলাক হৈছে. So today we have got various number of laws associated for the protection of these coral reefs, okay, under the coastal regulation zone of 1991. আৰু তাৰ কাৰণে there are various sections specific for the protection of these corals. আৰু হেতু কাৰণে corals has to be sustained for millions of years, আৰু হেতু কাৰণে আমাক তাহাঁতক লাগিব as far as possible to protect the corals from this respective area. তো ইয়াতে গ্ৰেট বেৰিয়াৰ ৰীফৰ কথা কৈছে, which you can find basically, যদি মই এখন অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়া বুলি কওঁ, so অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়াৰ এই পোৰ্শনটোত I can find a great barrier reef where I can find a good number of corals. Okay, so এইখিনি যদি আমাৰ ইণ্ডিয়া আছে, so Australia is basically on the south west province of India. Okay, south west ৰ ফালে আছে, আৰু তাৰে অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়াৰ যদি কওঁ, অষ্ট্ৰেলিয়াৰ নৰ্থ ইষ্টাৰ্ণ এৰিয়াজৰ ফালে আমি পাওঁ দ্য গ্ৰেট বেৰিয়াৰ ৰীফ. তো তাৰে ডিপ্লিশ্যনৰ কথা ইয়াতে কৈ আছে that how the marine heat waves directly causing major bleaching in the great barrier reef. Bleaching মানে mainly তাহাঁতৰ dying. Okay, তো ইয়াতে সেইটো কথাই কৈ আছে. Okay, এখানে কি আছে, প্ৰেসিডেন্টস কালাৰ প্ৰেজেন্টেড টু আসাম পুলিচ. Okay, so ইয়াতে কোন কেনেকে এৱাৰ্ড পাইছে এখানে এবাৰ চাই লবা. Okay, here are the names, কোনটো কোট টাইম মেডেল অফ অনাৰ্স আছে ভালকে এখন আমি ডিফাইন কৰা হৈছে. Okay, how Assam is directly working for to end insurgency, এই গোটেইখিনি ইয়াতে আমাৰ এখানে মেডেল দিয়া গৈছিল. Okay, so that is one of the important aspect. Smart পুলিচৰ কথা সব কোৱা আছে, policing with a human face, technology boost, okay, ending rhino poaching, এই গোটেইখিনি কথা ইয়াত কোৱা আছে. Then Assam Accord কথা অকমান সৰুকে কৈ দিওঁ. Assam Accord 1985 was a memorandum of agreement that was signed, and it was a three-parted accord that was signed between Government of India, State Government of Assam, and the leaders of the Assam movement in 1985. Okay, the then Prime Minister কোন আছিল, Rajiv Gandhi. So the signing of the accord led to the conclusion of a 6-year agitation that was launched by the ASU, that is the All Assam Students Union, in 1979, demanding the identification and deportation of illegal migrants from Assam. Okay, আৰু হেতু কাৰণত এই এটা ডেট ফিক্স কৰা গৈছিল to set up the cutoff, that is 24th March 1971. Okay, so it was our important criteria হৈ যায় for the detection of illegal foreigners in Assam. তো ইয়াৰ লগত এটা আমাৰ clause 6 বুলি এটা বহুত important clause আছে, clause 6 of the Assam Accord. So ইয়াতে কি কৈছে, it says the constitutional, legislative and administrative safeguards as may be appropriate that shall be provided to protect, preserve and promote the cultural, social, linguistic identity and heritage of the Assamese people. Okay, so this particular committee was chaired by Biplab Kumar Sharma, which was constituted to define the Assamese people and institute safeguards for them. Okay, so তেখেতসকলে বহুত ৰিকমেণ্ডেশ্যন দিছিলে, সাপোজলি তাহাঁতে কৈছিল, তেখেতসকলে কৈছিলে ডেফিনেশ্যন অফ দ্য আছামিজ কি হয়, reservation for Assamese people, okay, then regulation for the outsiders, that is the inner line permit, এই গোটেইখিনি কথা তেখেতসকলে কোৱা গৈছিলে. But yes, we have got various number of issues, যেনেকৈ recently NRC লৈ পেলাই ইস্যু হৈছিলে, NRC complete নহ'ল কেতিয়াও. Okay, so yes, the key legal and constitutional issue that needs to be considered is whether the definition of an Assamese or a Bengali or a Punjabi or a Tamil define his or her Indianness or an Indian citizenship. So So the definition of Assamese is connected to the NRC process as the Assam Accord cannot be reviewed in isolation or one clause or the other. তো সেইটো কাৰণে আজি চাওঁ যে এই বিপ্লৱ কুমাৰ শৰ্মা ডাঙৰীয়াই যিটো আমাৰ ৰিপৰ্ট দিছিলে তো সেইকেইটাৰ মতে ডেফিনিশ্যনটো কেনেকৈ আমাক একচেপ্ট কৰিব পাৰিম তো দেট ইজ ওৱান অফ দি এছপেক্ট দেট কেন বি চিন উইথ ৰেছপেক্টিভ টু আছাম ৰিপৰ্ট তো সেইখিনি ইয়াত কোৱা গৈছে নেক্সট যদি মই আহোঁ অ'কে denial of justice would lead to ultimately to anarchy. Okay, তো ইয়াতে কিছুমান আমাক কোৱা গৈছে the high yielding genetically modified fish breeder developed. Okay, so ইয়াতে genetically modified যদি মই ক'ব যাওঁ some of the genetically modified যদি মই ক্ৰপছৰ কথা মই যদি প্ৰথম ক'বলৈ যাওঁ so আমি জানো যে আমি GM ক্ৰপছ কৰ্ণ বনাইছোঁ আমি GM সয়াবিন বনাইছোঁ আমি মেজ বনাইছোঁ আমি কটন বনাইছোঁ আমি কেনলা বনাইছোঁ কেনলা কি হয় uses cooking oil and it's basically an emulsifier in packaged foods. Okay, so এইটো কাৰণে আজি যদি মই কওঁ about the GM crops তো GM crops তো অলৰেডি আমি বনাই ললো তো এতিয়া আমি কি ভাবিছোঁ আমি হায়াৰ ইল্ডৰ কাৰণে আমি কিছুমান জেনেটিক্যালি মডিফাইড কি বনাই আছোঁ ফিশেছ বনাই আছোঁ so as to increase because today the fishes are directly getting decreased and the consumption pattern is directly increasing. So to suit the demand and the supply we are directly going with this particular genetically modified crops that are very essential for our respective purpose. আৰু সেইটো কাৰণে ইয়াতে কোৱা গৈছে about the high yielding genetically modified fish breed developed or to put in North Lakhimpur. So the fish feed farm of Lakhimpur district under the fishery department has developed the high yielding genetically modified fish breed under the Assam Agribusiness and Rural Transformation APART. So it is important that what is basically APART. Okay, so it is Assam Agribusiness and Rural Transformation project funded by the World Bank. Very, very important. Very, very important. So this was stated by Rajan Hazarika, District Fisheries Development Officer, in a press release issued here on Friday. Hazarika said that genetically modified fish sheets were developed at a fish feed farm in Lakhimpur district and the fishery department located at this particular location. Okay, so yate hetwe koise supposedly if I see about the newly developed fish breed was named Jayanti Rohu, very important, whose growth rate will be 20% higher than its main normal breed hen, leading to more market potentiality and consumer preference. So in this World Bank sponsored APART project on the fishery department in Lakhimpur district, where farmer producer groups from the neighboring villages were engaged in the production of quality fish sets. So it way amar the important criteria hoy why I have to say about the aspect of this particular project which says about this respective element of breed development. And therefore, I can say that the fish sheet of Lakhimpur district under this fishery department has been a higher potential of having a good amount of fish for the consumption pattern that needs to be enhanced in the coming time. Okay, because jimane amar population bahi jabo, who is basically the fish eater population, through this particular project sponsored by World Bank, we will try to enhance the population of the fishes so that more and more people can consume the fish, and therefore we have seen there are various number of advantages because jimane amar genetically modified fish bahi jabo, jimane amar higher yield hobo, reduce growth rate hobo, cost komi jabo, আৰু increase farm profit yate ahi jabo. So that is one of the aspect that we can see with respect to this type of fishes that is known as genetically modified fishes. Okay, so the good thing likha ase. So today it is directly the end of today's session. So yate jodi amak kiba contact koribo lage if you want to join our program, okay, be it the main specific program, okay, and if you wants to have a proper enrollment to our programs, okay, you can directly visit us via this particular site csap.co.in. Okay, you can also directly scan to this particular code if you want the further details about our programs, about our center, about our products. Okay, so ekhini sai pelai you will directly have a proper analysis of how as a team we are working for making you clear this particular mains exam. So that's all for today. We'll meet with the next session. Thank you all.